I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, spilling all this out for strangers on the internet, but I guess I need to get it off my chest. It all started when I found out about my infertility. For years, I've been trying to be positive about it, telling myself there's always a way, always hope. But then the tests came back. No kids, no future that I'd envisioned. That was a punch in the gut I didn't see coming. I thought I was prepared for bad news, but I was. My world started crumbling and I was drowning in this sick mix of grief and anger. Grace, my wife, she's a good-looking woman, tall with those piercing blue eyes that used to melt me. We'd been together for 8 years, married for 5. She was my everything, my partner, my best friend, or so I thought. After the diagnosis, we tried to talk about it, tried to find some way to cope. She always said, "We're a team. We'll get through this." But I started noticing little things. She'd be distant, texting someone late at night. I'd catch her sneaking out of the room after midnight, her phone clutched tightly in her hand. I brushed it off at first, telling myself I was paranoid, that the grief was messing with my head. But a week before my birthday, I saw her phone on the kitchen table, unlocked. I hesitated, then I peeked at the screen. My heart squeezed tight. There were messages, flirty, intimate, clearly not just friend talk. I saw her calling someone babe and then a string of emojis that made my stomach turn. I took a deep breath, feeling the world tilt on its axis. I wasn't imagining it. She was cheating on me. I didn't confront her then. I needed to gather myself to think. I started watching. Every night she'd leave her phone on the nightstand face down. I'd check the call logs, the messages, anything I could find. All of it pointed to the same guy, her best friend Tom. They'd been close for years, sharing secrets, and I'd never suspected a thing. I felt like a fool. My insides twisted with betrayal, and I wondered how long this had been going on. The worst part, I kept a little voice inside saying, maybe it's just a fling, maybe it's nothing serious. But I knew better. I saw her smile at her phone like she was texting her favorite person in the world. It was obvious. She had been lying to me, hiding her secret. The day I decided to dig deeper, I found a receipt, a small, unremarkable slip of paper from a coffee shop. I didn't think much at first, just a coffee order. But then I remembered her telling me she'd been working late those nights. I looked at the date and time, exactly when she said she was still in the office. That's when I started connecting dots I'd refused to acknowledge. They'd been meeting away from me. I could feel my fists clench, my jaw tight. This wasn't just a fling. She was planning her escape, probably with Tom. I didn't tell her I knew. No point in revealing myself just yet. Instead, I sat in my study, trying to breathe, trying to stay calm. I needed a plan. I couldn't let her walk away with my heart broken, and I definitely couldn't let her think she was winning. That's when I started thinking about revenge. Not some petty, destructive retaliation, but something that would hit her where it hurts, something that would make her regret ever crossing that line. I wanted to show her she'd lost more than I ever could have imagined. The plan started to take shape in my head. I'd gather evidence, confront her on my terms, and then I'd turn the tables. She believed she was the one in control, planning her future with Tom, but I'd give her a taste of what she'd thrown away. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears as I sat there, the weight of betrayal sitting heavy on my chest. I looked at my empty hands, clenched into fists, and thought, this isn't over. Not yet, not by a long shot. That night, as I sat alone in the dim glow of my desk lamp, the plan started to form sharper edges. I knew I couldn't just blurt out the truth and expect her to fall apart the way I wanted. No, that wouldn't be enough. She needed to see what she'd lost, what she was about to lose. I had to be clever, cold even. I started digging into her phone more, reading through messages I hadn't seen before, some from Tom, some from her. It was all there, proof of how deep her lies went. I noticed little things, details that made my stomach turn, her nervousness when she thought no one was looking, the way her hand trembled when she texted Tom, the subtle way she'd hide her phone from me, even in plain sight. It was obvious she was hiding something, and I was about to use that against her. But I didn't want to just expose her. I wanted to make her feel the pain I was carrying. That's when I thought about planting something. A little something that would make her realize she'd burned her bridges. I didn't want her to have any illusions about just sneaking away happily with her new guy. I wanted her to see her world crumble, piece by piece. Over the next few days, I set my plan in motion. I started with small steps, creating fake social media profiles, planting messages on her email account, and slipping in a few details here and there. Nothing too obvious, just enough to make her question everything. I also arranged to meet Tom in a public place. Nothing flashy, just enough to scare him a little. I wanted him to know I was watching, even if I hadn't made my move yet. Meanwhile, I kept my face cold and unreadable around her. We had a few tense conversations, but I played it cool, acting like I was just trying to hold everything together. Inside, I was burning. Every second I kept my secret, I felt the pressure building. I could almost taste the moment when I'd finally confront her with everything. One evening, I found an opening. She was in the kitchen making coffee, and I noticed her phone sitting on the counter unlocked. I hesitated, then gently picked it up. My fingers trembled slightly as I scrolled through her recent messages. The proof was there, proof she'd been planning her escape for weeks. I saw her telling Tom she's ready to leave and that she's tired of pretending. That was my sign. I knew I had to act fast. Later, I crafted a carefully worded message from her phone, something that would make her panic but wouldn't be directly traceable back to me. I sent it to Tom, pretending to be her. It said something like, "I can't do this anymore. I want out, but I need a little more time." I watched her face as she saw the message pop up on her phone. Her eyes widened just for a second, but she quickly masked it. She knew I was onto her now. The next day, I confronted her. I waited until she was alone, then I slowly revealed everything I'd discovered. I handed her the evidence, the receipts, the messages, the call logs. Her face went pale and her hands started to shake. She tried to deny it, but I cut her off. "You thought you could lie to me forever," I said, voice cold. "You're planning to leave me for Tom, aren't you? After everything we've been through." Her eyes welled up with tears, but I felt nothing but rage. I wanted her to understand she'd lost more than just her marriage. She'd lost my trust, my respect, and everything we'd built. But I didn't want to just scream at her. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I wasn't going to let her cheat and walk away like it was nothing. I told her I had one last surprise for her. That night she'd find out just how deep my revenge went. Part of me felt sick, but I knew it was necessary. She had taken so much from me, and I was done turning the other cheek. This was just the beginning. That night I stayed awake long after she went to bed. My mind kept racing, trying to figure out the perfect way to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I had the evidence, the plan, but I needed to be meticulous, cold. I didn't want her to suspect anything until it was too late. I spent hours setting everything up, making sure every detail was in place. First, I ordered a small, inexpensive hidden camera. Nothing fancy, just enough to record her every move in the moment she thought she was alone. It arrived the next day, discreet and unassuming. I placed it in the corner of our living room, pointed directly at the spot where she usually kept her phone charging. I knew she'd try to retrieve it if she suspected I was onto her, so I had to cover my bases. Meanwhile, I crafted a fake letter from her to Tom, an emotional confession where she admits she's tired of hiding, that she's ready to leave me for him. I left it on the dining table in plain sight with a lipstick mark on the envelope. It looked authentic enough, something she'd leave behind if she decided to run away with her new love. I knew she'd see it. I wanted her to feel the shock, the betrayal all over again, but amplified. That evening she came home later than usual, smelling of perfume and something else. Guilt, I hope. She was nervous, I could tell. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured herself a glass of wine, avoiding my eyes. I didn't say a word, I just watched her, pretending to be calm. Inside, I was anything but. After a while, she tried to initiate a conversation. "Are we really going to do this?" she asked, voice shaky. I looked her straight in the eyes. "Do what?" She hesitated. "You know about everything, about the messages, the plans. Are you going to confront me?" I took a slow breath. "No, not yet. I just want to see what you do next." She looked away, fidgeting with her glass. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with some excuse, some way to spin the story. Instead of confronting her outright, I played it cool, waiting for her to slip up. I felt a strange mix of adrenaline and emptiness. I'd spent so long planning this moment, and now it was finally here. Then she did something unexpected. She reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and started typing furiously. I tensed up, watching from the corner of my eye. She was probably trying to delete evidence or maybe texting Tom. I decided not to interfere, yet. I wanted to see what her next move would be. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face went pale. I saw the faint glow of a message from Tom. She froze, eyes wide, then slowly she looked around the room as if trying to find an escape route. I knew I'd caught her, but I didn't say a word. Instead, I kept my expression neutral, waiting for her to realize she was cornered. When she finally looked back at me, she swallowed hard. "You're actually doing this," she whispered. I stepped closer, calm but firm. "Doing what? Showing you I know everything. Or maybe I should say, showing you that I've been planning this." For a while, her lips trembled. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I interrupted. "You've been lying to me, sneaking around, planning your escape, and I've had enough. This isn't just about the infertility anymore. It's about respect, or the lack of it." She broke down then, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the camera's remote app, activating the live feed. The little red light flickered, confirming it was recording everything. "Sorry, sweetheart, it's a little late for apologies. Now I want you to understand something. You're not getting away with this. Not without consequences." Her breath hitched as she looked at me, the realization sinking in that her secrets were out. I could feel my hands trembling, but I kept my voice steady. "Tomorrow morning, I'm going to show you what I've been working on. And after that, you'll have a choice. Come clean and face the fallout, or keep running and see what's waiting for you when you do." She looked at me like I was a stranger she'd betrayed. I knew then that my revenge was just beginning, but I'd already won this round. Her world was crumbling, and I couldn't wait to see her fall. The next morning, I woke up feeling like a predator who finally caught his prey. My mind replayed every detail. The night before, her trembling hands, her tear-streaked face, the way her eyes darted around desperately. As soon as she woke, I handed her a sealed envelope. "That's for you," I said quietly. "Read it when you're ready." Her eyes flicked to the paper, then back to me, confusion and fear swirling. She hesitated only a moment before tearing it open. Her face went pale as she read the contents, my carefully crafted letter. It was cruel but clear. I'd written that I knew everything, the affair, the plans, her lies. I told her I documented everything with the hidden camera, that I had proof she'd been planning her escape with Tom from the very beginning. I also included a fake confession from her, admitting to her betrayal, but it was more than just that. It was a warning. I'd make sure everyone knew what kind of person she really was if she kept going down this road. Watching her read was like watching her world crack apart. Her eyes welled with tears and her hands shook so badly she almost dropped the paper. I saw her swallow hard, trying to keep it together. She looked up at me, her voice trembling. "You're just trying to hurt me now." "No," I said coldly. "I'm just reminding you what you've done, and what you're about to lose, because I won't be the fool who gets played. Not anymore." She sat on the edge of the bed, silent, staring at the letter. The silence was thick, heavy with unspoken regret. I stood there, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I decided to give her a little space, but I also knew I had to act fast. I had already made arrangements to meet with a lawyer, someone I trusted, so I could start the divorce process. I wanted her to see I was serious about ending this, about walking away with my head held high. I couldn't let her think she was still in control. Later that day, she finally broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She begged, pleaded, swore it was all a mistake, that she loved me, that she'd never meant for it to get this far, but I wasn't buying it. I'd heard enough. When she looked at me with quivering lips, tears streaking her face, I saw the woman I used to know, lost and broken. "I want a divorce," I said flatly. "And I want the house, the car, everything. I'll give you a month to get your things, and I'll be filing the papers tomorrow." Her eyes filled with despair. "You're really going through with this?" "Yes, because I deserve better than someone who lies to my face and cheats behind my back. I want no part of this anymore." She collapsed into tears again, and I felt a strange sense of relief. I'd taken back control, even if it hurt like hell. I knew this was only the beginning, but at least I was finally moving forward without her. That night, I packed a bag, took the keys to the house, and left her a note on the kitchen table. It simply read, "I've filed for divorce. Don't contact me. I hope you realize what you lost." Then I handed over the keys, closed the door behind me, and walked away, leaving her to face the aftermath. As I drove away, I felt a strange calm settle over me. I was free from the chaos, the lies, the betrayal. I knew I'd do better, rebuild from this mess. But I also knew I'd never forget what she'd done, and I'd never let her forget it either. The pain of betrayal is sharp, but sometimes it's exactly what you need to finally wake up and take control of your life. The days that followed were a blur. My house was empty now, silent except for the faint echoes of everything that had gone wrong. I turned off my phone most of the time, not wanting to hear her voice or see her name pop up. Instead, I focused on the next steps, finalizing the divorce, moving out, and most importantly, making sure she understood that she'd lost more than just me. She'd lost her credibility, her trustworthiness, her respect. And I refused to be the rebound she'd run to when she realized she'd screwed up. I kept the recordings and the evidence I'd gathered stored securely. Part of me wondered if I should do something more, like telling her family or friends, but I decided against it. I didn't want her to spin her stories to make herself the victim. I wanted her to face the consequences of her actions by herself. She had chosen her path, and I was just making sure she'd remember it. Walking away was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but it was also the most freeing. I felt lighter, even if the ache of betrayal still clung to me. I started seeing a counselor, not because I was broken, but because I needed to make sense of what happened. Sitting across from someone who just listened helped me process my feelings without exploding. Every session, I left feeling a little more in control of the wreckage. I knew I'd survive this, even if my heart still ached from losing someone I thought I knew. One night, I decided to revisit the evidence again. The recordings, the messages, the receipts. I wanted to remind myself why I'd done all this. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about protecting what little dignity I had left. Watching her on the recordings trembling. As she read my letter, crying when she realized everything was exposed, something inside me softened. I'd been furious, yes, but I also saw her as a woman lost in her own lies. That realization didn't forgive her, but it made me see her more clearly. I also started working out again. Heavy bag, long runs, anything to keep my mind from spiraling into bitterness. I needed to rebuild, not just physically, but emotionally. Slowly, the anger turned into resolve. I'd take this pain and transform it into something stronger. It was a long road, but I was determined to walk it without looking back. One thing I did that felt particularly empowering was handing over the keys to the house. I went to her apartment, an old, run-down place she'd been planning to move into, and left the keys on the counter. I told her in a message, "It's yours now. No more games." That simple act made the final break official. I knew I'd never look back. Now I'm here, telling this story because I want others to know that sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the best rebirths. The pain still lingers, sure, but I've learned to own it, to channel it into something productive. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's about reclaiming yourself from the wreckage of someone else's betrayal. If you're going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your instincts. Don't let anyone walk all over you, and don't be afraid to take back your power. Sometimes, the only way to truly heal is to cut ties and walk away, no matter how hard it is. Because at the end of the day, nobody should stay in a toxic situation out of fear or hope. Real strength is knowing when to let go and having the guts to do it. Would you like me to keep going with the final part? It's been a few weeks since I handed over the keys and finalized the divorce papers. Honestly, it's strange how quiet everything feels now. No more lies, no more secrets. The house, my old life, is gone, and in its place, I've started piecing myself back together. I won't lie, there are moments when the pain punches me in the gut, but I remind myself of one thing: I took control. I refused to be a victim of her betrayal. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about her, about Tom and the hell they're probably going through now. I hope she's finally realizing that cheating, lying, and sneaking around only lead to destruction, hers and mine. I don't envy her, not anymore. I've learned so much from this mess. The biggest lesson: never compromise your dignity, no matter how much everything seems to fall apart. I took that lesson to heart and started rebuilding, not just physically but emotionally. I've reconnected with some old friends, and I've even started dating again, slowly, cautiously. I don't need someone to fix me, but I do need to remind myself that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who won't run away the second things get tough. Looking back, I realized that this whole ordeal, as painful as it was, pushed me to grow in ways I never expected. I learned to listen to my instincts, to stand my ground, and most importantly, to value myself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also clears the way for a new beginning. The funniest part: I don't feel anger anymore, just a strange sense of relief. I never wanted to be the kind of person who'd hold a grudge or seek revenge that consumes them, but I also knew I couldn't just pretend it didn't happen. Instead, I used my pain as fuel to rebuild, to redefine what happiness means for me. So here I am, writing this out to anyone who might be feeling trapped or betrayed. My advice: own your pain, face the truth, and then with everything you've got, take your power back. Don't let someone else's bad choices hold you hostage. You're stronger than that. You always were. I walked away from what was supposed to be my happily ever after, and I found something better: myself. That's the real revenge. Living your life on your own terms, free from their lies and manipulation. And if there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: no matter how shattered you feel, you're capable of rebuilding. Trust me, I did it. Thanks for listening. It's not just a story about betrayal and revenge. It's a story about survival, resilience, and finally reclaiming what's yours.